headset, but I'm getting a little bit of static. I think it might be my headset. So again, my name's Kelly Ann. Welcome to our webinar on budgets. If it's your first time attending, on the GoToWebinar toolbar, what happened to my church windows there? On the GoToWebinar toolbar, there is a question panel. If you click the little arrow by that, it will open that up, and you can type questions in the panel for me to answer. Normally we have a question answer along in the room to help out, but Rachel's had her baby and Ross is not here today. I think Pam it's her grandma day. So rather than pull a tech off the phone, I'm going to handle all the questions on my own today. So if you could keep those topical. Again, we're looking at budgets. You might want to hold off until the end and see if your question is answered as we work our way through the material. But I'll try to keep an eye. I have dual screens. I'll try to keep an eye on the question panel, look over there and see if there's anything popping up as I show you the material. What we're looking at today comes from one of our workbooks. If you have the workbooks, you can get yours out and follow along. Let me go ahead and bring up the workbook. I'm not doing very well clicking and talking today. My multitasking skills are low today. This comes from one of our workbooks, though. You don't need to purchase the workbook to understand what's going on. But if you're interested in the material I'm using for this or where to find that, it is from Accounting 201, which I have up on the screen right now, Budgets. If you see right here, it's at the very beginning of the book, Entering the Budget, pages 2 through 6. Pretty easy topic, so I think we'll probably be done before the 20 minutes and have lots of time for questions. Knock on wood, my only superstition. All right, so without further ado, one other thing I wanted to point out for anyone new to GoToWebinar, if the toolbar is blocking what I'm showing you, there's a little red arrow on the side of it, and if you click on that, that will minimize down the toolbar. That way it won't block what you're seeing. And to open it back up, if you want to type a question in for me to answer, just click that arrow again. And again, I'm not going to unmute people, so if you have a question, type that in the question panel. Let's go ahead and take a look at budgets. This is in accounting. Close the website here. So I'll go down. I already had church windows and accounting open. I opened it just by clicking on the word accounting. Saved a little time for it loading and everything. Now, entering a budget can be done in accounting, and that's done with your income and expense accounts, the number 4 and 5 accounts. So if I look here in my chart of accounts, whoops, went right past them, would be for all these number 4 accounts that I'm showing, any of those, or for any of my expense accounts. So again, we can budget. You do not have to budget, but a lot of churches like to budget. If you want to input a budget, it's for your number 4 income accounts and the number 5 expense accounts. And remember, a budget, it's not real money. It's a guesstimate of what you're going to bring in or what you're going to spend. Usually a committee might approve those and you'd enter those, and typically after those are entered you don't change them, but they can be changed or edited if you find during the year you do need to change a budget or add a budget. You can work in the budget screen anytime during the year. So let's go ahead and take a look at budgets. To get there, we click on the word budgets up at the top of the screen, and then budget, no S, or in the middle of the screen here, we have a lot of shortcuts for things more commonly used. Budgets is one of those. You can access that also. Same screen by clicking right here on the little jar of money that says budgets. So that opens the same screen as if I click in the upper left on budgets and then budget. And here we see our budget screen. Now, when you first own the program, it will show zeros. If you open a new year and move ahead to a new year, you have the option of copying the prior year's budgets forward or setting them all to 0. If you copy forward, you can edit those. The budgets can always be edited unless your login doesn't give you access to that. To budget something, first, you can either scroll up and down the list, and here we see all our income accounts and our expense accounts, and we also see any subtotals you've created. And if you aren't familiar with that, subtotals are where you can create a category, move accounts into that, and then on reports, it would give you a total of all the accounts you put into that subtotal. Well, you can, if you'd like, you can budget more generally for a subtotal rather than all the accounts within it. But it's one or the other. If you have a subtotal, like here, general fund, we can budget for that subtotal, or we can budget one or all of the accounts within that subtotal. But you can't put a budget in for both an account and also for the subtotal. If I put account budgets in, then those are going to total up, and it will show me for that subtotal a grand total budget amounts based on the account totals. Let's go ahead and put in an account budget. Excuse me. I was saying you could scroll through and find the account you need. Let me get a sip of coffee. Sorry about that. You can either scroll and find the account you need, or upper left is a search box. If I clear out what's in there and start typing the name or number of the account I'm looking for, then it narrows down to that, and I want my building fund contributions. And when I clicked on in the list, it pops it right up at the top, and it's highlighted. Now notice over to the right, it's blank. I don't see any budget information. To see that, I need to put a check here in budgeted, meaning I would like to enter a budget for this account. Now that I put the check in budgeted, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the page here. If you're following along in the book, I'm on page 3. Once we put the check in, you'll see I can put in an annual budget, a quarterly budget, or a monthly budget. The default here is it puts the radio dot in monthly, but I could choose any of the other options. And you'll see as I work my way through, and I'm going to show you each of these, as I do this, it's going to distribute it over the other type budgets, annual, quarterly, or monthly. Let me go ahead and show you. It makes more sense showing, I think. So I'm going to put in a budget for my building fund contributions. We're anticipating this amount. So I just type the amount in if I want the annual, and I want it to distribute that over the quarters and monthly months for me. Now if I just click off of that, notice it took that $25,471 and it distributed evenly over the quarters and the months. If it's a number it can't divide by 4 or by 12, then you'll see in the last quarter and in the last month, that odd amount is put in that last quarter or last month. So that's how we can budget annually. If we turn to page 4, if you're following along in the book, we can also budget for the quarter. So I'm going to click on the upper right to set the amount of this one to 0. Goodness. And now I'm going to show you how we can budget for the quarter. I can put the dot in quarterly. And then for each of the quarters, rather than put a grand total and annual, I'm going to put a specific amount in each quarter. So I'm just typing in the amounts from the book. So I go to my first quarter and type in the amount. Second quarter, type in, the amount. Trying to match the book for you. And then move on to the third quarter. Enter my amount. And you can use your keyboard for this by just using your mouse pad and your tab key. I'm just tabbing to the next field. Notice, I forgot to point out, I don't know if you noticed, as soon as I put that first quarter in and moved on to the second, it divided that total for the first quarter between January, February, and March. Then after I tabbed off my second quarter amount, it split that between April, May, and June. Same for the third quarter. It's splitting that amount between July, August, and September. And when we're doing it this way, notice any amount it can't divide evenly is in that third month for each of those quarters. And now if I hit tab again on that last amount, it took that 16,224 and divided that evenly between October, November, and December. So there's how we can budget for the quarter. And it does take the quarterly totals, notice, and it also adds those all up and gives me an annual amount. Then I could, if I like, I can distribute by month. Maybe you anticipate only getting money within certain months, and you really want to display that on your reports. If we turn to page 5, let's see, this shows us using a different account. So I'm going to find property insurance. And that's an expense account, so maybe we only pay this every 6 months, hence why we want to put in, oops, let me set those amounts to 0. Hence why we want to put in specific amounts on specific months. So we pay our property insurance on April and in October. So we're budgeting $1,560 in April, and notice it only put that in the second quarter when I tabbed off that, and then $1,560 in October. So it took what I put for April and October, and it shows that in the quarterly section for the second quarter. And for the fourth quarter, we don't have any expense budget set for our property insurance for the first or third quarter or any of the other 10 remaining months. And it took those two figures that I put in April and October, and it gave us a grand total for annual as well. So that's how we can budget annually, quarterly, or monthly, depending on, how broad your budget is, how general versus how specific you want to get to a quarter or a specific month even. Now I mentioned you can budget for accounts, or maybe you'd prefer to budget for a subtotal. Let's take, for example, total administration. It's right on the screen. Right now we have office expense, copy machine, all of our various expense accounts that we consider administration. We've budgeted for each one of those. All right, so maybe this year we've decided we aren't going to budget that specifically. We are just going to give a specific budget figure for all administration, and then how that's distributed over those different accounts is up to whoever's in charge of that, the administration budget. So what we can do is, instead of budgeting for all of these accounts, we can put the check in total administration. This brings up a warning telling me this will remove budgets for subsidiary accounts and or subtotals. Continue. So what this means is it's going to remove the budgets for the different accounts and instead show it as a subtotal budget. So if I want to do that, I'd say okay. If I do not want to do that, I want to click cancel, and if you're not sure, you could give us a call and we talk about it. We do want to continue, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now notice, took a second there, but notice it took all of the checks out of the expense accounts, and the check is now in total administration, but it didn't wipe out all the budget amounts that I had figured for those accounts. It took all of those budget amounts and it's now moved those to be the budget for total administration. Now, if you're in a version prior to 1916.2, I don't recall it doing that in prior versions. It might have, and I just wasn't in the budget screen enough. So I would make sure you're on the most current version. If you have, a whole bunch of accounts and you're thinking you might want to budget for the subtotal instead, make a backup first before you just say yes, you want to erase all those account budgets, or print them out just to be safe, because I don't recall it holding those and moving those over the subtotal in older versions, but I could be wrong, because don't get a lot of calls about budgets, so we don't go in there a lot, or I don't. But if I wanted to change this budget amount instead of what was already there for all the accounts, I could click Set Amounts to 0 and choose annual, quarterly, or monthly, whichever I prefer. And their budget's drastically reduced according to the book. We put in the amount, and now we see it splitting that amongst the quarters and the months. And instead of having a budget amount for each of these accounts, we now have a budget amount for that subtotal, and it will still look at what we've spent in all those accounts and tell us how much we have left based on all the accounts in that subtotal. All right. Last thing in this topic on page 6, you can open your new year at any time to start working on your budgets. So if you already have a budget for next year and you want to start working on it, usually it's more October, November, people start doing that, but you could start working on your budget in 2018 if you wanted to right now. The only real important thing is once you're solidly working in 18, you want to make sure you're updating beginning balances, but that's a whole nother class, so I'm very easily off topic. All right, back to budgets instead of end of year. You can put budgets in at any time, and again, you can open a new year and enter those in your next year right now if you want to. So if that's something you want to do, definitely give us a call and we can talk to you about the things you want to watch for and how to do that. Okay, somebody said in the property insurance example, how will that reflect in the treasurer's report? Over under column, will it still spread the amount evenly over the years or the year? Um, we'd have to go look at that. I haven't looked at that on a report, so let's see. Is that the property insurance? We can take a look, but I do not know how that will handle that over the years or the year. So if we were to look at that today, it's August. Let's just look for through the end of the year and see what it looks like there. Property insurance. So we have annual budget showing. Whoops. Do I have more columns? Budget. Well, let's see. I'm not certain here, and the over under. Let's see. I have to add that. Whoops! I just hit the wrong button. We don't want the fund activity. Try again. All right. So treasurer's report. Let me add that over under. Maybe we'll add all the budget columns so we can see those. We'll remove that. All right, might have to go across the page to see it, but so if we look for property, if you didn't know, if you're looking for an account on a report, there's those little binoculars. And I find it much easier to type a keyword for the account name or number to find it than scroll through the report, unless you know exactly where it is on your report, which you might know. So here we see property insurance. Let's see what column headers. Monthly. Whoops. See, I haven't entered. Nothing's entered towards this, so without me going through and entering transactions and such for this, it's hard for me to answer that question, Barbara. So if you want to give us a call, I mean, we can test it and let you know. But it's not going to spread it evenly over each month or the year, because it was for a specific or quarter, I mean, because it was for a specific month. But again, I do not know the answer to that, and within this 20-minute class, I don't really have time to add all the, do all the transactions to get some things in there. But definitely give us a call and we can look more into that. Somebody asked, how do you copy forward a budget? That's done when you open a new year. So I don't want to open a can of worms with opening a new year. We're not going to go into all the details of that. But if you go to manage years and you are setting up a new accounting year, you have the option here to copy budgets. That's all you do. You either check that or you don't check it. If it's checked, then any budget you had will copy forward to the next year. If it's not checked, then your budget screen opens at zeros for all your budgets. Somebody said, if I wanted to use administration as a group heading only and not have a dollar amount applied to it, how would I set that up? So if I'm guessing you mean you would like a subtotal of administration and not have a dollar amount. So that would be under subtotals. You'd create that under manage account subtotals. Click on the account name or the type that you want, click add new subtotal and make your subtotal. If you'd like to call in, we can help walk you through subtotals and adding accounts and subtotals, or when you're in there, if you click your F1 key, that does bring up the help topic that tells you how to work with the subtotal screen. But if you don't want to have an amount for your subtotal, then you would put your budget in for the actual accounts. If you're showing budget columns, though, subtotals are always going to show you a grand total, even in the budget columns for the accounts that are actually within that subtotal. Someone asked, so as long as you are only entering a budget for 2018, you don't need to close open years. You want to be in the year you are entering the budget for. If I'm entering it right now on the screen I see right now, then it's a 2017 budget. If I want to enter a budget for 2018, then I need to open my new year to do that. You have to actually be in the year you want to be in. Otherwise, if I do it right now, then I'm affecting my 2017 budget rather than 18. All right. Are there other questions? We are a minute. Wow. I thought this might be a short topic because it's only 4 pages, and it is, once you look at it, I think it's pretty easy. It's just the reporting things I think are the more complicated things. So once you get to that and subtotals. Now, if you have another question, go ahead and you might want to hit enter, even if you haven't typed it all, and then finish typing the rest. That way I won't close the room before you get your question typed all the way out. But that is all I had to show you for budgets. So if there are other questions, go ahead and type those in. And you're welcome. You're welcome. See some thank yous coming in. All right. Well, I don't see any half-entered questions coming through, so I'm going to go ahead and end today's webinar. We're being recorded, and we will put this up on our website normally on Thursdays. Robert standardizes, adds a pretty Church Windows logo, I believe, at the beginning, and puts those up on our website. So do take a look at our website for videos pre-recorded, or sign up for more. Excuse me, I know last week I just got my list of assignments for the next 2 months of webinars, so we're always having free webinars and new topics every month. So thank you guys for attending. And somebody just now jumped in and said, oh, did I miss it? Yes, we started at 2 Eastern, so we are at the end of the webinar right now. But I was just now letting everyone know we do record these, so typically on Thursdays, sometimes sooner if it's slower. Robert standardizes and cleans these up and puts them on our website. If you search on our website, though, Faith, there might already be a budget video up there, or a document for you. So we just keep doing the webinars, and usually we'll replace the videos with the more current video, just because sometimes on screens we show, things that have dates and stuff. So but I typed in budget, and it looks like the one thing I'm surprised we don't have a budget movie. Accounting New Year budget. Oh, we do. So here is a movie somebody's at, and even I think the person already left who was asking about opening and closing the new year. It's from 2016, but it still works the same way. Budgets, opening a new year, it works the same way in 17 and 18 and 19. That has not changed in accounting. So Faith, this video might give you a little information on budgets and what we covered today, but what we did today is being recorded, and hopefully Robert will have that up on our website on Thursday. But this might help you in the meantime. Sorry about that. Yes, we started at 2 Eastern. All right. I am going to end the class and go do some calls and eat my lunch at the same time, because I have to leave early and get my kid from our first day of college classes as a high school kid. So thanks again for attending, and everybody have a great day. Bye.